Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the 12th Process Innovation Challenge, LocWorld's platform for innovation and competition. I'm here with my co-host, Dave Ruan. Dave, how are you today?
I'm very well. I love doing double takes, so we don't have them that often at the PIC, but you know what? It's great to be back here. And we're virtual again, Alex.
We are, but what's really exciting is this is leading up to our first live event in over 3 years.
Indeed. Where are you going to be on the 12th of July?
Well, I'm going to be in Berlin, Germany at the Intercontinental Hotel.
Hopefully we'll have some of our innovators here today join us there. And that's the purpose of today. It's preliminary round number 1. And it's an opportunity for innovators to pitch on stage. So we're going to talk about that now. Maybe we'll get some slides going and walk people through what's going on.
All right. Are you seeing my screen now?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Welcome, everybody. PIC preliminary round is where we are today. You know, at the PIC, this time around, we have 14 innovators who are joining us at the preliminary rounds. There's 2 rounds. And they will have an opportunity to tell you a little bit about their innovation and get a chance to go to Berlin. Shall we advance the slides a little bit? How does the PIC work? Well, the PIC is an opportunity for innovators to talk about their innovation. They've 3 minutes to do it at these sessions. We call it 3cubed. There's going to be 3 dragons who are watching over and asking questions, and they can use 3 slides. So that's where we come up with 3cubed. Let's just keep advancing there. And who are these dragons? Well, joining us today are Bert Esselink from RWS, Julia Tarditi from Qualtrics, and Patricia Palladini from Palladini Global. Very big welcome to our dragons. They have a very important role to play. They both judge the preliminary rounds, also ask questions, and will help our finalists as they approach the final as well. Quick call out, Patricia was in the PIC previously and has joined us as a dragon. Lovely to have you, Patricia. Julia won the PIC a couple of years ago, if anyone saw that in Estoril. Welcome, Julia. And Bert, of course, wrote one of my favorite books. Yeah, it's a book on localization. If you haven't read his book, you should look for it. And great to have you, Bert, on stage with us here today.
Thank you.
I'm Dave Ruan, and of course, Alex Burnett. Alex.
Hey. Great to see everyone today, and really excited to get the competition going.
Our innovations today are going to cover a lot of different ground. We're going to see our innovators go into terminology. We're going to see some UI innovations, user interface stuff. We're going to see stuff about customer support, AI, and then we're going to have some very interesting process stuff on smart profiling. So without further ado, you know, that's what you're going to see. That's the order we're going with right now. And we just need to get this going. So Alex, let's invite our first innovator on stage, who's Klaus Fleischmann. And Klaus has been here before, previous entrant to the PIC. Klaus, you're going to tell us more about terminology and why we should care about it, right?
And Dave,
that's true, yes.
Right before Klaus gets going, if you could just spotlight him so we can see him on the video. And I also wanted to mention, again, it's a 3-minute pitch. And so if you're getting close to the end of your pitch, I'll be showing a little 30-second post-it. So that's the only warning you get. And at which point, if you go about 15-20 seconds long, we might politely interrupt. So try and keep it to 3 minutes, and let's get this thing started. Klaus, take it away.
All right. Well, first of all, I apologize for the horrible lighting. I'm at a train station boarding in 10 minutes. So, but it's not about me today. It's all about Anita, who is on the next slide. If you can forward it, please. Anita is working in a localization department of a big, let's say, manufacturing company. And she always has the challenge when she deals with this funny thing here, because there's so many different names for that in her company. So she reaches out to the development team. What do you call this thing? And they tell her, well, it's obviously a battery-powered human-machine interface. She also reaches out to product management, who says, obviously, it's the FRC 30. What a silly question. Documentation clearly calls it the detachable controller. No question about that. Marketing, of course, says, hey, wait a second. We've actually registered this as a trademark. It's called the mobile. When it goes into localization, of course, she works with multiple vendors, and then it gets really complicated because they come up with all these different translations and target language versions. And what she really wants to know actually is, what do my users call these things? Because at the end of the day, they're going to Google for that. And if she finds out they call it remote control, that's a good thing to do. But fortunately, if you go on to the next slide, Anita is proud owner of a software product called Calcium QuickTerm, which allows her to do the following. First of all, she can reach out to all of these stakeholders and say, I'm sure you all have glossaries. Can't you just send them on over? And of course, everybody says, sure, I have all these glossaries here in the #1 tool for professional terminology management, which is Microsoft Excel. So she brings them all into QuickTerm, and in QuickTerm, what she can do is she can start processes around these. So she can moderate processes, involve all these stakeholders, have them discuss this terminology, have them agree on this terminology. Excellent job on forwarding the slides. And at the end of the process, they might come up with something like, well, remote control is preferred, FRC is the product name, it's also fine, everything else is forbidden. So Anita is happy, but of course, what she needs to do on the next slide is that she needs to feed this all back to the people where they originally got, or where she originally got the wrong terminology from. And QuickTerm can also do that because it's very smart. It can filter terminology because, of course, not every target persona needs the whole data set. And if you can just do 2 or 3 clicks, it supports deltas, so you don't have to feed everything all the time. It transforms the data because every tool, of course, has a different format that they require. It allows us to talk to REST APIs to have the tools import that automatically. And of course, she can schedule it so it runs automatically in the background, and then she can push terminology to all of these different systems that all wants to consume it and have their users use it. But it doesn't end there, because if some of these users have feedback or they want change or something like that, they can communicate that via QuickTerm to Anita, who can then implement it. My timer beeps, so I'm done.
Brilliant. I thought that was your train leaving the station there for a second, Klaus.
No, I gotta run.
You gotta run. Well, Klaus, really interesting.
No, I'm fine. It's Deutsche Bahn, so I'm sure I have time.
Yeah, we have to ask you questions, remember?
Sure.
Very nice to meet Anita and see QuickTerm. So, Dragons, what questions have you got?
Tricia, Juliette, do you have anything? Or if not, then I'll get started.
Just a very quick one. So how time consuming is this from a project management point of view? Like, is it going to scale? Does it require a dedicated person within the localization team?
So typically what we see in our clients is that there is no full-time equivalent dedicated person. There should be somebody in charge. I typically don't call them terminologists because companies don't have terminologists and HR teams don't know how to employ them. I like to call them process moderators. So they're basically the ones that make sure people respond to these tasks, that they have to discuss something. What really takes time, of course, is when people need to agree on something. So if you have 5 divisions that have all been using different terminology for the last year or decades, that takes a while to overcome that. But that's not really time needed on the localization PM.
Yeah, I have a quick question also. I guess the answer can be very long, but try to keep it short. Like, who and how identifies which are those terms which are challenging? Is this something that it's identified during the translation process? So you start this new approach like in a reactive way, or this is something that can be identified proactively, so you can start this process before you go into the actual translation?
Yeah, there's actually 2 approaches to this. One is a systematic one. So you can basically systematically go through the existing data, which normally is there. That's why we had all these different glossaries. They normally exist, but in isolation. The other way you can do it is you can do this more on an ad hoc way. So you can say, okay, if a translator notices something, they could report it to the system by giving feedback to the system. If you, for example, use authoring tools or do terminology checking or something like that, you might also know it. So there are these two approaches. I like to call the one of them systematic and the other one ad hoc. And typically you have both. You start with the systematic one, trying to clean everything up, and then you enter into this ad hoc phase.
Thank you.
The time for one more question, Alex, or?
Sure.
Okay, great. Because when I'm listening to this, Klaus, I mean, it does remind me a little bit of a tool that you probably know better than me, called Multiterm. Other than all of the integrations that you mentioned with all those logos, I mean, what would you say are the key differences between the old school transition or terminology management like Multiterm and QuickTerm?
Yeah, the main difference, of course, is the process. So QuickTerm has an actual process in it. That means we really have discussion tasks, approval tasks. So we can go in there and say, hey guys, we have this, we call it concept with, I don't know, 10 different terms. Please discuss it and agree on something. And then in the browser interface, they can vote, they can discuss, they can chat with each other. We record all that. And then at the end of the day, the process moderator can take a decision. And of course, that simply isn't there in the traditional terminology.
Okay, so it's more about collaborating around terminology rather than a strict workflow for approval. Okay, clear.
Correct. So let's say Multiterm, let's say, is a database where somebody enters stuff, but there is no process around, well, how does it get in? How do I bring all these different opinions together? So that's what QuickTerm does.
Okay, interesting. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Dragons. Thanks very much, Klaus.
Thanks, Klaus.
Hopefully you're in time to catch that train.
Yes, 30 minutes delay is already announced, so I can actually watch the next couple of ones.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Klaus.
Thank you.
And let's invite our next innovator to join the stage. And so, Andrea, we'll ask you to join the PIC stage.
Thank you so much. Can you see me? Can you hear me?
We can indeed.
Okay, so we're good to go. Wow. So it will be, so let's start. We are Voiced is a startup that is active on emotional virtual voices, and we would like to solve what we call the dubbing problem, since definitely we see that there's a growing need and growing demand of expressive voices all around the media and entertainment and the games. But it's extremely complicated to try to give an expressive voice to all these new, let's say, media and elements or marketing elements. So we know that the expressive voice are very resource intensive. You need to cast a huge amount of actors. You need to, let's say, engage with the studio, especially if you're doing a localization. You need to basically have a sound engineer, voice director, get the audio files, and then mix them out and integrate. So, and at the same time, the TTS system that we are seeing out there are struggling to be expressive and easily adaptable by the existing workflow. As a result of this, there's a huge amount of content that is just translated and subtitled, so users can't enjoy the expressive voice in their native languages. So if we go to this slide, we can share a little bit more about our, say, solution. So we have been targeting a very ambitious target, creating a new AI-based technology that is, of course, based on a unique data set, multilingual and multi-voice data set, to be able to, three major things: craft and emulate basically any voice in terms of voice texture, okay, control with instruction or transfer from audio and voice audio the style, okay, of the speaking sentence. At the same time, the system should work from any language to any language. This is a kind of, let's say, we call universal speech text to speech, okay, system that is basically able to listen to any voice, okay, and try to emulate the voice. While it's not doing voice cloning, is basically doing, okay, a kind of voice emulation without the need to train the system in advance. The system is trained on the data set, okay? Then to control the style and the motion of the sentence, and also to listen to the source file, source voice, map the expression, okay, and transfer the expression to the target audio. At the same time, since it's working on audio and voices, it can start from any language, ideally from Klingon, and transfer things into the other language. So with this powerful tool, then we need to bring it to the market, okay? And we can definitely start from the game and media entertainment and targeting the dubbing. So we are building a cloud-based AI solution that is able to ingest source text and audio, okay, can be, let's say,
5
English.
seconds.
Wow. Then ingest the target text and create as output target audio in all languages. Sorry for, let's say, the short description, but yeah.
It's okay.
Thank you,
Okay.
Andrea. Very interesting. Voice emulation from Klingon. That sounds scary and interesting at the same time. Right?
Yes, 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 absolutely.
Good stuff. Let's ask the dragons if they have some questions.
Of course,
Dragons?
super welcome.
Yeah, I can start this time. So just to make sure I have understood the innovation. So you do have an audio or video, you have to subtitle or to translate. So you do the translation or you apply machine translation. And with the output, this is where you apply this innovation, which is this voice emulation that basically you don't need a human to do the doubling, but basically that technology will, the dub will, through this AI, will do all the doubling for the different characters in that video.
Yeah, you are correct. So the system will ingest the source audio with the voice, of course, the source text and the target audio, and will recreate the target audio. Exactly. So that's exactly how it works. And so it does not need to be trained on the voice. Okay, so it's not voice cloning, it's not working on predefined set of voices. The system is designed to create voices from scratch, voices for replicants. When you're doing humans in the metaverse, you need to create voices, you need to define voice profile, and then do voice design. This is the key, one of the key innovation, definitely, yes.
Brilliant. Thanks for the question, Patricia. We'll take one more question, Andrea.
Sure.
Julia, you have a question?
Yeah. How did you ensure that the performance was consistent cross-lingually?
Yeah. So this is, of course, a big topic, okay? Since we need to also, like the machine translation, let's say, have a post-voice editor, okay? So the system is acting like a machine translation tool, like DeepL, for example, and is proposing the output, okay? Definitely, through the data set, there is multilingual and multi-voices. We map how the human emotion are described in vocal, okay, representation, and define metrics so that one kind of emotion in one language can be transferred through another language through an emotional matrix that can adjust this as output. On top of this, you can definitely be able to define the pitch, the tune, control the emissions. So you can speak in this way, or you can speak with a loudly voice. So you can definitely tune a lot of attributes. And the human is the guardian, okay, that the output is consistent with expectation. Yeah. So
Brilliant.
Human in the loop. So
human in the loop. The
yes,
emotional matrix. You're giving us nightmares here. So, Andrea, we'll leave it there. I think there's probably plenty of other questions, but we need to move on.
Sure,
thank you very much, Andrea. Really
thank you very much.
Thank
you very much.
Great stuff. So we're off to a good start. Let's keep it going. Of course, that's what we do at the pick. It's 3 minutes pitch, then some questions. So next up, I'd just like to invite Diego. Diego, are you able to join us?
Yep, I'm here.
Hey, great to see you, Diego. And off you go.
Okay, so I'm going to present how monolingual agents can become multilingual in basically no time with the language I/O solution. So if you go to the next slide. Essentially, in these days where we are in a crisis every day, if you want to support any language for your customer support center, you'll need a high investment both initially and then on an ongoing basis. And also over time, you might need to scale or downscale capacity depending on the number of requests that you have. There are several solutions in which you can solve it, but language I/O is one of them. Also, it's very important in this scenario of customer support. Security is key. There is a lot of personal data in and out of the system. So it's very, very important that companies that work in customer support deal with security to the highest standards. And also all the agents, since they are a lot of times pressed by time, they need to work in their own CRM. So they need to work in their own environment and they don't need to go out from that to be able to reply to queries in any language. So if you go to the next slide, we see here the main pieces of the language I/O solution to solve that problem. Essentially, the first one is there are three in the middle: machine translation, quality evaluation, and self-improving translation. In terms of machine translation, we dynamically select the best engine for each content pair, content type, language pair, and customer. And that enables them to either choose freely or select the best engine based on what we are seeing. We integrate with Google, Microsoft, Amazon, DeepL, and Systren. Then after we machine translate, we estimate the quality. We evaluate the quality thanks to several parameters, both metadata in our system, also semantic similarity between the source and the machine translation, and also budget that the customer has. So this quality evaluation focuses on the risk that a certain machine translation might have, so that if the risk is above a customer defined threshold, it can be routed to human translation. And then don't go to the
Sorry
next
about
slide. And then combining both a machine translation and the quality evaluation, we have a layer of machine learning, which essentially tries to automatically impose the glossaries. So the glossaries that are relevant for that customer and that are also used within those conversations, they are correctly translated and they are improved and enhanced over time. So these are the main key innovations. So if you go to the next slide, this allows agents to reply to any language within the CRM in less than 24 hours. You can get up into a language I/O platform in less than 24 hours. We have an out-trace policy, so security is guaranteed. We are ISO 27001 certified. You're always getting the best machine translation engine. You can define yours if you want it, and you can dynamically select that threshold for human post-editing or translation as you see fit. So this is language I/O's innovation in a nutshell.
Thank you very much, Diego. Very interesting. Multilingual customer support. Dragons, question.
If I can start here with a question, I mean, this is a very intriguing area, and it's not really new, right? Because I think companies like Unbabel have tried to crack this market as well, and Intento. So I see a bit of those companies as well in your pitch. One thing that continues to intrigue me is what you mentioned a few times: the auto selection of the best MT engine. How is that done? I mean, there's so many criteria for selecting an MT engine. I mean, is that like a simple matrix, like, okay, for English into German, we need Amazon, for English into French, we need Google, or how does that system work?
That's one option if we have no data, but if we have customer data, we are able to adjust the engine based on the customer content type. And you might think with translation memories, okay, that's easy. You get editing distance, character F, or whatever blue other metric you might use. But we also do that without any reference, only using the similarity between the source and the machine translation and the comparison among all the engines with other metadata we have in the system. So that can be, to answer your question, so it can be static, but it's also dynamic, and it changes over time.
Okay. And the other question I have is, you mentioned self-improving glossaries. How does that work?
Yeah, so there are two pieces of the glossary. One is we start with customers' glossaries. but it might happen that those terms are not actually used in customer support conversations. So we filter all that and we add only the ones that are indeed relevant. And then once customers start using our system, we detect the key terms and phrases that are used in the system. And once they reach certain parameters, among others, usage, but also relevance in the content, we, let's say, human translate them so that they can be used in the system and translated correctly.
Okay.
I have a very quick question. So in a short sentence, what is exactly the innovation? In a very short sentence.
The innovation is probably, well, there are the three pieces I mentioned, but in one sentence is that your monolingual engines can become multilingual for text support in less than 24 hours.
Okay, thank you.
That was short. Diego, well done. We like short at the pick, as you might understand. And thanks a million for that. Very interesting pitch. Not sure it's an area we've seen a lot in the past, and obviously it's an area where there's real demand, right, with content in that space. So thank you, Diego. Really nice job.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Let's move on, and I would invite Virginia on stage. Please join us, and we'll just get you set up, Virginia, and ready to go.
Thank you. Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Yes, we can indeed.
Perfect.
So,
Perfect. My name is
yours.
Virginia, and I'm representing ULG and our automation suite. We can go to next slide, please. So our innovation really evolved from the challenges we were facing mainly around the automation or lack of automation within the Microsoft Office suite. Inability to process multiple files or multi-process the file without the need for additional macros, add-ons, plugins, etc. Then can we click next, please? It led to inconsistencies, errors, omissions within the tasks and the process. And last but not least, it resulted in the cost and time inefficiencies. Can we move on, please? So what is the solution then? Our response to the problem was development of an application that which would not only address the challenges around the file processing, but the process itself. It brings, can we move on, please? Thank you. It brings automation and multiprocessing for common DTP and QC tasks, but also other functions in the process. It also provides ability to build tasks and queries relevant to the function, language, and customer, and then share those queries across with other users. And also provides traceability to fully monitor the process execution. So in essence, this application provides flexibility to build custom queries and tasks within still controlled environments. Could we move on, please? Thank you. So what are the benefits? The automation and multiprocessing brings us time and cost savings. Our testing showed the reduction of production times up to 70% in various tasks. Actually, just recently, we have run the testing and we have applied this application to solve customer challenge, and it helped us reduce turnaround time from the project from 4 months to 4 weeks. The other solution, settings, preset, and shared, provides us consistency in the task execution, process control, and reduction of any omissions and errors. And last but not least, customization and flexibility gives us the scalability to share the settings across the users globally and control the process, as well as adaptability to serve various processes and other solution requirements. So this application was originally created to help solve challenges around DTP, QC, and production tasks, but it actually proved very beneficial for other departments and custom solutions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Virginia. Very nice. I think you're good on time as well, by the looks of it. So questions, Dragons?
I'll give it a start. I'm glad you showed the interface, because for me that makes it very visual what the innovation is about, right? And it's funny to see a lot of the things that we've been struggling with in localization for, I guess, 30 years, you know, like typical pre-flight tasks, like, you know, removing comments from Word files. And so I'm sure this kind of technology is very much welcomed by your teams. I'm surprised it's only come about now. And doesn't anything like this exist already? Or, I mean, have you explored any commercial tools? Because it seems like everybody is struggling with these issues. So.
Yes, we did. And you're right, Bert. There is partial solutions. So we can have macros. We have applications that allow you to build custom queries. But this is a bit more, because it actually provides queries as well as tasks, you know, multi-processing the task within Microsoft Office. And it gives that control for the user, where what we call, we have the pre-processing, processing of the file, which is the queries, and then the post-processing. And depends on the settings, how the workflow is created, it allows us not only to execute the tasks, but control the workflow of the task. So, and then it gives us the log, showing us all the functions and everything that has happened within that process. So it's actually a lot more. Just execution of the task. It's the control, flexibility, and workflow, really.
Okay, very clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dragons, do we have any more questions for Virginia?
I think echoing what was asked before, if you had to put it in a sentence, just very short, that you use to pitch the innovation to stakeholders internally, what would that be?
I would say is the flexibility of the custom solutions and custom queries within the still controlled process and environment. So I think the scalability and adaptability of the application, not only to serve production automation, is actually the biggest innovation here. I mentioned earlier that project turnaround time that was reduced thanks to this application is something that is not even related to DTP-QC tasks. We managed to adapt this application to serve the purpose of really reducing the project turnaround time around translation.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Virginia. I see another question in the chat, and I'll let you have a look at that yourself, and after you've taken a breather, and if you'd like to answer Kirill, who's asking a question to you there.
Oh yeah.
Great, thank you very much, and well done. And now, has anyone been to LocLunch? Anyone? Put your hand up. No? Yeah? Anyone just had lunch, maybe is thinking about lunch again? Well, maybe you have been there, maybe you will in the future. That fantastic initiative is the brainchild of our next speaker. So Jan Hendricks, and I recommend you go to one of them. They're lots of fun, apart from anything else. Jan, join us on stage, won't you?
Great, great. Thanks a lot, Dave, and thanks a lot, Dragons, for giving us the opportunity to tell you a little bit about our innovations. So I'm talking about the connected digital LocLunch CV. Next slide, please. And I want you to imagine how trust can make a difference in our industry, okay? I will take you back to the future. So nothing exists here. All people in my story are fictitious, okay? So let's imagine that Alex is a professional linguist, okay? And a frequent LocLuncher, of course. LocLunch has a platform, and that helps people like Alex to discover and follow LocLunches worldwide more easily and connected with follow LocLunches. But Alex's LocLunch profile can a little bit do more. It is a secure social login for TMS and BMS, like Google or LinkedIn Connect, you might know. And it holds connected academic and professional track records through digital certifications. A two-factor authentication makes it safe and to use and serves as identity check. The integration with TMS validates his work on each of his projects through tokenized proof of work data sync with his profile. Let's say, think about LQA scores, subject matter, role, and other relevant metadata, which is transmitted to his profile as labels. Okay, now Alex owns his experience and can prove it without giving out client names or references to all his clients. Now, let's think about the buyer side or the client side. And here comes Julia, who's a localization program manager at a software company, surprised. She needs her vendor manager, Bert, to work with a specialized team of linguists familiar with the TMS from Dave. They should have a proven track record in post-editing and must have passed a digital course in data security designed by Patricia, a professional consultant in this show. Bert's vendor management team quickly finds Jochen through the LocLunch API and let him pass the course about data security. After the training, Alex adds a digital certificate to his profile and can access the project in Dave's TMS, which instantly validates his identity and authenticity of the certificate during LocLunch. During login. A smart contract is created and automatically executes once all conditions are fulfilled. Dave knows that transparency is important for his clients. That's why he embraced the integration with LocLunch for his TMS. The project, of course, was a big success, and the LocLunch CV saved all parties a lot of time and costs. Now, back to the future, back to now, the underlying technologies are here. Web3, as you might have heard, is all about identity. Universities are embracing digitalization and digital certifications for their academic curriculum. The LocLunch community is built on trust, decentralized, and about to go platform. So the question I was asking myself is our industry to become smarter? Now, that's me. This is a digital LocLunch CV, and I'm looking forward to answer your questions.
We just love stuff like that. Back to the Future, one of my faves. Don't know about everyone else. I think you included everyone.
Crazy, sorry.
You included everyone there in that workflow. Very interesting stuff. Nice bit of moonshot attached. Dragons, questions?
Yeah, I have a question. So this platform where all this information is stored that can be checked by the different, the requesters and the translators, how is it actually filled up? Because you mentioned that it will, for example, contain the QA scores of a certain translator. How these QA scores are added, or any other professional information related on the execution of different projects? This is something that will be automatically fed from the different content sources that could be TMS, for example, or this is something that will we have to enter manually? No,
everything is automatic. Thanks, Patricia, for this question. So it's a blockchain system. So basically, the profile connects to the TMS through the social login. Okay. And in the moment the translator, Alex, in this case, works on the TMS on the project for Julia, all his work gets stored to his profile without, so the word counts, the hours. Like if Julia applies a LQA system to make sure that the quality is there, and this is given permission, then the translator can receive this LQA scores on his profile. And this is the way he then can go to another agency and say, here I am, this is my experience with Dave's TMS, and I'm working on software localization, and this is my scores. So it's up to him to show the information, but the information itself comes from the TMS integration with the TMS. Yeah.
And a follow-up question. Are these different content sources like TMS, various types, in the various different TMSs, are they ready to share this information? I mean, this is something that
exactly
easy to get.
No, I think not. But I believe that there's a critical mass. So it could be a huge opportunity for the TMS that makes the first step because of the visibility for the clients, and I think we need like 2 or 3 of the big TMS to prove the concept, and then from this point on, it's from both sides, the client side and the linguist side, who will embrace the power on the TMS to adopt the standard and hopefully roll it out throughout.
Thank you.
Very cool.
So assuming that you do have 2 or 3 TMSs that would help you in the proof of concept, how long do you think you need for this to be fully operational?
Okay, so yeah, this is a back to the future. So the technology is there. There's a lot of things to figure out, like Patricia mentioned in the beginning. The TMS. So what data comes through? What do we want to show? How the translator can visualize that without harming any NDAs and so on. So this is not a short-term innovation. But on the other hand, we see, the technology is out there with Web3, which is identity, the APIs, the TMS are mature and in fierce competition. So, this is something that can provide get rid of a lot of inefficiencies and get security to you and other big buyers to say what my supply chain, if they are according to my standards of my criteria I put on them. On the other hand, the same LSPs who work in the middle can source faster, do not have to do background checks, because all this can be in the profile. Now, how long does it take? I would love to tell you. I don't know. Could be 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. Dave,
and with that, Jan, I'll save you. So the tough questions are there. The pick is all about seeing stuff that exists, seeing stuff that will exist, seeing game changers. So Jan, thank you very much for that, and thanks for the questions.
Thank you.
And as people are doing, please ask the questions on chat as well. And innovators, please, if you have an answer, then respond there, and we'll move on. So our next innovator is hopefully ready to go. So I'll just ask Jianjun, are you ready?
Yes. Can you hear me?
We can. The stage is yours.
Okay, cool. Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm going to present a new and practical way of UI automation testing based on recording. This is one solution developed by our team. Can you go to the next slide? Okay. What is the problem come from? As you know, for UI testing, manually is not efficient. And if you think of the big test metrics and the frequent changes on the front end, you'll find that actually automation is not efficient either, because you have to take much time to develop and maintain automation script. if you want to run UI automation on different browsers, resolutions, or locales, you may also need much time for maintaining the running environment. It also takes much efforts and resources. Okay, next slide. Our solution is called VChat recording and replay. It is in purple on this slide. You can see it is enhanced on multiple aspects comparing to other solutions. During the presentation, I hope to explain how we achieved these advantages and what are the lessons and best practices we got during our development. I hope that would be the main part of the presentation. Okay, then next slide. Okay, I hope to have one quick demo during the presentation, and after the demo, I will explain our visions for further works. First, we hope to drive a new UI automation model, which is recording takes main role instead of developing script manually. And second, we hope to add some smart validations during UI automation, such as the globalization or accessibility or layout. These validations will be based on general standards, so users don't have to add assertions one by one. And also, we are hoping to open source our project to involve more developers and users in the future. I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Jianjun, very interesting stuff. UI automation, always an interesting topic here at the PIC. And Dragons, questions?
I have a question, actually. I thought after blockchain and smart contracts, it wouldn't get much more technical, but here we go. You mentioned a few times recording, a third generation recording solution. Why is that important in testing the recording? Why are you putting such focus on that? Because the way I visualize it, you're recording basically an automated test script, right?
Yeah, actually, we are digging before developing this new project. We are digging on many existing recording solutions. As you can see, actually, people are trying to use recording for many scenarios. Why is that? Because recording actually it can fix some problems. First of all, you can generate the test cases automatically, and it is very attractive, especially for people that don't have many technical backgrounds. And many UI workers they do want to automate their tasks, UI tasks, but the current script developing technology it actually is not user friendly for them. You need many technical background to really run one UI automation framework to automate your tasks. Yeah, that's the most important attractive thing we see in recording.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned smart validations, including globalization. I mean, what kind of things is this process finding in the testing process related to globalization?
Yeah. That is a good question. The smart validations is when you have one UI available or one screenshot available, you can know what if it has some bug. if this UI have one bug from a specific aspect, for example, the globalization, if you have one screenshot, you can judge that the datetime format is not okay for this locale. People can do that, but the original way to verify this item is using the assertion, like I will get the string from the UI and assert that it follows the rule from one locale. But we are hoping that based on the current technologies, we are hoping that we can decide or we can verify the format of the datetime automatically or in a smart way, based on only the UI screenshot or the the catch of the UI. Yeah, that's basically the logical smart local availability. Yeah.
Very interesting stuff.
Cool.
Thanks,
you.
Bert. Thanks, Jianjun. And we'll just stop on questions there. I think there may be one or two others, and I'll just ask Dragons if you have them just to send on to you, Jianjun. So if you can have a look at those if and when they send them through, that'd be great. And thank you for joining the pick.
Okay, let me take a look over that. Thanks. Thank
you very much. And right, let's move it on. And we have one more innovator today, right? This is round one of the preliminary rounds. I'm delighted to invite Gary Leffman back, who many of you will know in the industry and who is a previous winner of the pick, so 4 years ago. So Gary, very welcome. Please join us on stage.
Hello, thank you very much for inviting me. All right, I will start off by introducing the motivation and benefits. Next slide, please. So we are a very small team comprised of 2 localization engineers looking after over 400 products. There are 17,000 developers in our engineering organization of 55,000. The number of products that we look after is growing significantly. So continuous localization has helped us to grow. With continuous localization, we have achieved localization 98% faster than we would do with manual localization. This has saved us thousands of human resource hours every year. This allows us to focus on more products, more locales, improving quality, and also introducing new innovations across the team. However, continuous localization cannot scale without microservices. Next slide. So microservices enable rapid, frequent, and reliable delivery of large and complex applications. They are distributed across a highly secure hybrid cloud. In this case, we're using both OpenShift, which are the pink colored icons on the screen, and Amazon Web Services, which are in yellow. Each microservice is independent, which allows us to maintain our product, our services very easily. It also allows us to carry out rolling updates. By rolling updates, I mean we're able to apply changes, feature enhancements to any of these services without actually taking the services down at any point in time. If we look at the bottom left-hand corner, we've got the repository service, and this works very closely with the developers repositories and also localization repositories, collecting the resource files ready for localization. They're passed on to the core service, which performs pre and post localization functions on those resources to make sure they're of good quality. And then they're thrown over to the translation management system, to a CAT tool, or so on. Up in the right-hand corner, we've got a representation of TMS or a translation memory of some way, shape, or form. When resources are ready and they've been localized, we pass those through webhook proxy service. And that is maintained outside of the Cisco network in AWS. We also have the ability to build our own language packs and locale installers. and push those through the build storage service. And then we've got the test service on the left-hand side. So we're actually able to do full end-to-end localization before returning stuff back to the developers. Next slide, please. So I'll just show you the microservices in action. On the left-hand side again, at the bottom, we've got repositories, working with repository service and so on. What I would like you to focus on is the colored blocks that are rising and falling. Green represents a Kubernetes pod, which is running Docker images. They are active and operational. If they turn yellow, that means they're under stress, under high load. And if they turn red, that's because a pod has failed for some reason or another. So microservices running through Kubernetes allows us to make sure that all of our services are fully functioning. But more importantly, we're able to scale this because of the elastic services behind them. So we could essentially apply an unlimited number of products to the platform and localize them without any stress for any of the products that we are localizing. That's it, I'm done.
Wow, that's amazing. I don't know about anyone else. I was just looking at the flashing lights there, Gary. You got me. I did see a few reds, but they changed back fairly quickly. So we'll take your word for it. That's how it works every day. Nicely done. Dragons, questions for Gary?
Yeah, I'm happy to ask a few questions. I love this one. I'm sorry, it brings the geek heart out of me. So I'm just wondering, you mentioned that it's actually providing scale, and it sounds to me like you're taking essential tasks from a TMS and you're transferring those to microservices, right? Just to allow your entire company to go through a funnel without getting bottlenecks. But how is it possible that those microservices don't become a bottleneck when there's one task, for example, and all of your engineers suddenly want to send their latest, like string files into the analysis microservice or something? How come those are actually scaling automatically and TMSs don't?
That's a very interesting question. So let me give you an example. Every Monday morning, we have hundreds of developers across the company who are all committing the work that they've been busy working on over the weekend. Mm-hmm. And ordinarily, if we hadn't been using microservices, this would have put a single monolithic application for continuous localization under a huge amount of stress to the point where something is likely to fall over. Mm-hmm. We're able to distribute the workload using a load balancer across the entire collection of pods that are run by Kubernetes, so that we can effectively push all of that new content into the core, so we can do pre and post localization on that content, and also determine if we do actually need to perform any form of translation on that. Often developers commit stuff and they've been removing content from the resource files, which is quite common. Mm-hmm. In which case we don't need to go to a TMS or any form of translation needs to be performed at that point in time. So we can hold on to that. So we're able to distribute and also hold off on any form of translations.
Okay.
Great question. Dragons, any other questions for Gary?
Not for me.
Into silence.
No, sorry. So I was thinking because there's so many things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We only have 1 minute, basically.
No, just a very quick one. Sort of, what are the KPIs as opposed to what you had before? I guess this is a new setup compared to an existing one.
So before continuous localization, we were doing everything manually and we were struggling. In terms of key performance indicators, our metrics are being maintained on a day-to-day basis. Every time a developer commits, we take a record of the new and changed strings, which are the most important thing for us. And then we apply that to what we call a commit log. And this helps us to determine the frequency and the extent to the size of those commits for each product. And this produces some really interesting charts that we can use for predicting when we're going to get heavy load. Hence, we know that Mondays are always very busy for us.
Yeah. Boomtown Rats wrote a song about that many years ago, and not liking Mondays too much. And thank you very much, Gary. Unfortunately, time has caught up with us. It's not quite a Monday, but we do need to progress. And very interesting predictive analytics I'm hearing there as well. Thanks a million, Gary. And great to see you again at the PIC. And well, that's it for our first preliminary round, but don't go just yet. You know, Alex, what's happening next?
Well, we have another preliminary round, a second round with 7 more innovators tomorrow at the same time. We'd invite you all to join again with the same Zoom link. I also want to mention that the recording of today's session will be up in the next few hours on the LocWorld YouTube channel, and we'll be sharing it across social media as well, so you can go back and watch if you missed one of the pitches. You want to go back and check it out. So great job to all of our innovators today, and looking forward to tomorrow. Back to you, Dave.
Yeah, and I think maybe if you just move slides there, of course, what are we, you know, what is this all about? And well, the finalists get to speak on stage at LocWorld47 in Berlin next month. Yes, a physical event. Wow, right? This time we will have a keynote slot at LocWorld, which means all LocWorld attendees will have a chance to go into one room and watch the PIC, as there won't be any other sessions going on. So that's novelty, and we're really looking forward to that. And then move a slide more. Here's our lineup for tomorrow. So if you liked what you saw today, please come back tomorrow, and you'll see 7 more innovators, as Alex said. And that's it. You know, thanks a million to all innovators. Great show, really interesting and varied innovations. Dragons, thank you very much. Patricia, Julia, and Bert, and Alex. Until tomorrow.
Yeah, and just wanted to make one last for folks who are wondering about how the voting works out there. So after tomorrow's round, our dragons will get together and deliberate, and we have to whittle down this initial field of 14 innovators down to 5 innovators who will move on to our final round. That's taking place again on Tuesday, July 11th in Berlin. It's a large, slightly longer format there, so innovators will have more like 4 to 5 minutes to speak, with longer question and answer period as well, so the pitches get a little bit deeper also. After the deliberations of the judges, we will be publishing our finalists by next Monday at the latest. Innovators will then have about a week to let us know whether they can in fact travel to Berlin or not. If they can't, in that case, another alternate would be chosen to go on to the final round. But those details will all be published early next week on the PIC website. That's pic.locworld.com. So great job again, innovators, today. Thanks, Dragons. And we will see you all tomorrow.